Welcome back to HistoryCrafts. Today we talk about a man whose nicknames were Scarface or even Hitler's Kommando. He was a man who also played both sides in the shadows. From elite rescue missions to post-war espionage, his presence mirrored the haunting world between battlefield and backrooms. But who was this man? A tactical genius or a manipulator of myth? A loyal soldier or a mercenary of chaos? Otto Skorzeny was born in Vienna in 1908 into a conservative nationalist family with Polish heritage. Otto grew up in a household that admired military discipline and the Austro-Hungarian story. As a young boy, he was fascinated by technical inventions and stories of heroism from World War I. He developed an early interest in engineering, and he was deeply influenced by the romanticized ideals of masculinity and honor, which was also upheld in student dueling fraternities. He enrolled at the Vienna University of Technology in 1926, studying mechanical engineering, and there he became a top student and also a fierce fencer. During student duels, he earned a prominent facial scar, a schmiss, seen by many in the dueling society as a badge of honor. Years later, the scar would become a key part of his personal legend. Now, actually, this whole fencing thing is a very interesting cultural thing. It was very spread. If you want to know more about it, let me know, I can make a video about it. By 1931, he was politically active, and he joined the Austrian Nazi Party. He admired German unification and was present during the 1938 Anschluss, claiming to have protected Austrian President Miklas from being lynched. By then, Skorzeny was already working in the background of Nazi industry. At the outbreak of World War II in 1939, Skorzeny, then 31 years old, volunteered for the Luftwaffe. However, his age and tall stature were deemed unsuitable for pilot training and led to his rejection, because he was actually 1.94 meters tall, and you have to be a little bit smaller to sit in these planes. But he was not giving up, and he joined the Waffen-SS as a technical officer. He served on the Eastern Front in 1941 with the 2nd SS Panzer Division, called Das Reich. During that time, he also was participating in operations during Operation Barbarossa. He was involved in the advance toward Moscow, specifically in the region near Vyazma and Smolensk, where he managed logistics and oversaw engineering support. During a Soviet counterattack in late 1941, he was wounded by a shrapnel in the head. During recovery, Skorzeny became increasingly interested in commando-style missions. Maybe some of you wonder, what is a commando-style mission actually? Well, it refers to a small-scale, high-risk military operation carried out by elite or highly trained soldiers, often behind enemy lines, with specific objectives like sabotage, assassination, reconnaissance, hostage rescue, and also disruption of enemy operations. 1 year later, in 1942, he was assigned to Berlin as part of a newly formed SS Special Missions Unit. He studied British and Soviet special forces and developed tactics for sabotage, psychological warfare, and also infiltration. One of his early ideas was to create mobile units that could disrupt enemy command structures. This became the foundation of what would later be the Jagdverband 502. In September 1943, after Mussolini was arrested by his own government, Hitler wanted him rescued. Skorzeny was personally selected to lead Operation Eiche, or Operation Oak. On the 12th of September, German gliders carrying SS troops landed near the mountain hotel where Mussolini was held. The commandos seized the site without a shot. Although the initial planning and tactical execution of the mission were overseen by Luftwaffen General Kurt Student and his Fallschirmjägers, Skorzeny managed to attach himself to the operation at a later stage, by insisting on accompanying Mussolini on the extraction flight and ensuring he appeared in the official photos and newsreels. Skorzeny claimed credit for the mission. His presence and self-promotion turned him into a propaganda icon, and he was awarded the Knight's Cross and widely presented as the new face of daring Nazi operations. In late 1943, the leaders of the Allied powers, Winston Churchill, Franklin Roosevelt, and Joseph Stalin, met in Tehran to plan the next phase of the war. According to some accounts, the Nazis were planning to assassinate all three of them at the same time. The idea was allegedly a German commando mission: parachute into Tehran, infiltrate the city, and launch a surprise attack during the conference. The Soviets claimed they uncovered the plan through intercepted messages and even captured German spies. And here is where Skorzeny comes in. After his dramatic rescue of Mussolini earlier that year, Skorzeny was supposedly handpicked by Hitler to lead the Tehran mission. He was becoming the go-to man for impossible tasks. But here's the thing, there is no solid evidence the mission ever got past the planning phase, and Skorzeny himself denied any involvement after the war. In fact, most modern historians believe Operation Long Jump was either invented or heavily exaggerated by Soviet intelligence as a propaganda tool. In the end, nothing happened. The Tehran conference went ahead without any problems, and the three Allied leaders all survived. So, was Operation Long Jump a real plan, a missed opportunity, or just some Cold War propaganda? In 1944, Skorzeny was involved in several high-risk missions. Another mission was the WWII, or also called Operation Rösselsprung. This one happened in May 1944, and the target was big: Joseph Tito, leader of the Yugoslav partisans. The plan? A direct airborne assault on Tito's headquarters in the town of Dvar, deep in Nazi-occupied Yugoslavia. German paratroopers would drop in, seize the compound, and either capture or kill Tito. The paratroopers landed and fought fiercely, but Tito had been warned just in time. He escaped through a network of tunnels and vanished into the mountains. The Germans took heavy casualties, and the operation ended in failure. For years, people claimed Skorzeny led the raid, and his name kept popping up in books and articles. But the truth is that Skorzeny had nothing to do with it. He wasn't involved in the planning, the execution, or even in the command. The operation was led by the SS Fallschirmjäger Battalion 500, and Skorzeny's name was just added, maybe by confusion or to spice up the story once again. He led Operation Panzerfaus, kidnapping the son of Hungarian regent Horthy. By doing so, he forced Horthy's resignation to keep Hungary aligned with the Axis. Later that year, he devised Operation Greif during the Battle of the Bulge. German soldiers wore American uniforms and caused confusion behind Allied lines. Though tactically limited, the psychological damage was enormous. As Skorzeny was already running Operation Greif, somewhere in all that chaos, rumors started to spread that Skorzeny had a secret team assigned to assassinate or kidnap General Eisenhower, the supreme Allied commander. This idea sent Allied commando into panic. Eisenhower was placed under intense security, confined to his headquarters and guarded around the clock. American troops were even given secret passwords and forced to answer trivia questions to prove they weren't German infiltrators. But the truth is, there was no confirmed plan, no mission orders, and no real evidence that such an operation was ever put into motion. Skorzeny himself denied it, and no German records mention an Eisenhower plot. So, was that a real mission? Well, most likely it was just the psychological fallout of Operation Greif in the beginning. After the war, Skorzeny was tried at Dachau in 1947. Accused of using enemy uniforms, he defended himself successfully by citing similar Allied tactics. The court acquitted him, boosting his image once again. The trial received international media attention, with some portraying him as a daring soldier rather than a war criminal. This sympathetic portrayal helped him also gain public support in post-war circles, and also aided his transition into a shady but influential figure in Cold War politics.
You must have been approached since the war by other nations to indulge in military activities of the kind you indulged in during the war. Is this correct?
This has happened, yes, exactly. And there is a lot of countries which oppose.
Would you name some of the countries?
Oh, I can name, for instance, United States of America.
They
were nearly the first one.
Is that so?
Something, yes.
What do they want you to do?
Oh, some special work.
You won't say exactly.
I wouldn't say it. You don't talk about it.
No. Have you been approached by countries like Cuba, for instance?
I was not officially approached, but unofficially I was approached also.
Was this by Castro?
It was first by Castro and now by the enemies of Castro. Everybody wants me.
In 1948, Skorzeny escaped from the US internment with help from sympathizers. He led to Franco's Spain, where he became a fixer for post-war fascist networks. He is believed to have been a key figure in Odessa and Die Spinne, helping former SS officers to flee South America and the Middle East. In Argentina, he worked with Perón. In Egypt, he trained Nasser's troops, many of them former Wehrmacht and SS men. In the 1960s, Mossad allegedly recruited him. The Israeli intelligence agency was deeply concerned about Operation Damocles, a covert campaign targeting German and other European scientists, assisting Egypt's missile development under President Nasser. Skorzeny, leveraging his Nazi-era connections, was used to identify and approach these individuals. According to reports, he helped assassinate Heinz Krug, a German scientist working in Munich, who had refused to cooperate with Mossad. His involvement gave the Israeli agency a unique tactical advantage and underscored the blurred alliances of post-war espionage. Skorzeny never admitted his Mossad role publicly, but as Mossad officers later said, he was useful because he was dangerous. He knew how to make people disappear and was willing to switch sides. He also wrote memoirs that blurred truth and myth, portraying himself as a patriot and anti-communist. He referred to himself as a soldier, not a politician, and denied any involvement in Nazi atrocities. He died in Madrid of cancer in 1975. His funeral in Vienna was attended by hundreds, some even giving Nazi salutes. Skorzeny was buried not as a war criminal, but as a soldier, and that for many remains the most controversial part of his story. His grave occasionally draws far-right sympathizers and has sparked debates in Austria about how to handle Nazi-associated memorials. While it's not an official pilgrimage site, its symbolism still continues to stir controversy among historians and the public. His story remains still deeply divided. Supporters often emphasize his tactical brilliance, unconventional warfare strategies, and also daring operations. To them, he was a disciplined soldier who mastered the art of psychological war, and later also contributed to Cold War intelligence battles. On the other side, he voluntarily decided to join the Waffen-SS and worked in close proximity to the Nazi regime. His post-war connections to regimes like Franco's Spain and Perón's Argentina, and later even Mossad, show how a man of his skill could cross ideological lines when useful, raising again ethical questions about justice, rehabilitation, and historical memory. He tried to whitewash his image through selective memoirs and also media manipulation. Ultimately, Skorzeny embodies the duality of wartime history. To some a hero, and manipulated to others. And a war criminal, of course, we cannot forget that. It's a little bit like Kurt de Boos. If you haven't checked out the video I made about him, you should check it out. Because he went from Nazi engineer to head of NASA actually. Otto Skorzeny was a complex and controversial figure. Whether hero, villain or myth, he represents the weaponization of fear, narrative and the cult of personality. In a century of propaganda and covert conflict, Skorzeny was both architect and actor. And his story challenges us to rethink what victory, history and loyalty truly means. What do you think about him? Going from Waffen-SS to being a Mossad agent? About what other historical figure should I make a video about? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to support the channel, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, this is HistoryCrafts, where history crafts itself.